What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to start my NFC predictions. We're going to start with my division, Dallas Cowboys division, the NFC East. It's a pretty interesting division this year. You got two teams that are rebuilding, and then you got two contenders. I would say contenders. To start off, we're going to start with the Giants, though. So for the Giants, I think it's all on Saquon this year. He obviously had 2,000 yards from scrimmage last year. Huge rookie of the year. I think everything that goes on with the Giants this year is going to be relied solely on what they can do with Saquon. Will we see Daniel Jones? That's the other question I have. He's had a pretty good preseason. We can't look too much into preseason. We've done that before, and it's bit us in the ass. But yeah, I don't think we can look too far into preseason. I do like Daniel Jones. I think he's a decent quarterback. I think he's got potential in the league. Eli doesn't have much left, I don't think. Their offensive line's a little below average. They did add Golden Tate. They still have Sterling Shepard, but obviously Odell Beckham departed this year. Golden Tate should help them out a little bit. They still got Evan Ingram, good tight end. I like him. Their defense, however, is pretty average. They have a good secondary, but their pass rush kind of lacks. They did add Dexter Lawrence this year, first-round draft pick. My prediction for the Giants this year is 4-12. They have a tough schedule, tough divisional schedule, but I think now in the future, if you look at the Giants in the next 4 to 5 years, they need to build around Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley and, build up that pass rush. They have a pretty good secondary. So I think if you're looking in a couple years, if the Giants do everything they should do, I think it's time to let Eli Manning go and move on from that and get started with Daniel Jones. If it's not Daniel Jones and another guy in this year's draft or whoever it is, and build around him and Saquon and Evan Ingram and that young core, and I think the Giants could actually be set up pretty good in the future. Okay, so the Cowboys. Big thing with the Cowboys right now is obviously Zeke. So is he going to sign before the game next Sunday? I hope he does. I think without Zeke, we don't have the same offense. I don't think we're scoring as many points as we're scoring with Zeke. Regardless if he's getting the touchdowns or not, or the touches, or whatever. I think even having Zeke out there just is another guy that the defenses have to plan for is a really big deal. It's Dak's money year, obviously. I like Dak, got my Dak jersey, so this is his big year. He's really got to come out here and show something. I'm not completely sold that Dak's the guy for the next 10 years. I like Dak. I like him as a guy. I think he's a pretty good quarterback, but he's not going to blow you away, and I think this is his year if he wants to make, Aaron Rodgers type money, $40 million a year. He's going to have to come out here and just play his ass off all year. I don't know if he'll do that. I hope he does for our sake. We do have Tony Pollard. They drafted. He looks pretty good, running back, so Zeke isn't there. Tony Pollard will be the guy for now. I still got Alfred Morris. He's coming. He came back after he left for a year and came back. Michael Gallup, the young guy, is really dope. He's going to get better. I liked him in fantasy, too. I got him in fantasy. Also, obviously, you still got Amari Cooper, who's in a contract year, so he's going to have to play big. Jason Witten's coming back. I'm super excited for that. Jason Witten's probably my favorite Cowboy in probably Cowboys history. I mean, he's been the guy since I've been a kid, so I'm really excited to see him back. The O-line is going to be a top-end offensive line as usual if they can stay healthy. If they can't stay healthy, then we'll probably see them struggle like they did last year at points. The defense is going to be nasty this year. They're young. They're only getting better. The linebacking core is sick with Jalen Smith and Leighton Vander Esch. Sean Lee, I kind of wish they would just let Sean Lee go already. He's kind of done what he needed to do for that defense and that team. It's probably time to let him move on just due to injuries. The D-line still should be the same D-line. Looks like Taco Charlton's had a couple good games in preseason. I'm not really sold on Taco Charlton. I think he's slow off the snap. They were saying that coming out of college that he just doesn't have a good first step, when the ball gets snapped, and that's been the truth since he's been on the team. I question his work ethic as well. The secondary, if you look at the corners, we have pretty good corners with Chidobe, Awuje, And then Byron Jones. I also got Jordan Lewis. He's a decent cornerback to be in there for some depth, but I think our corners are really solid. I think Chido's going to have a big year. Byron Jones obviously going to be an all-pro. He really stepped up last year and turned into a shutdown corner. The safety help worries me, as it has for the entire time I've been a Dallas fan. The safeties seem to always be the problem with that defense. Jeff Heath, they just need to get rid of him. I wish they would have got Earl Thomas or traded for Rashad Jones or somebody back there who can play the position. That's kind of been the struggle with this defense, is getting beat deep due to the lack of safety help. My prediction for Dallas this year is 10-6. I think based on what Philadelphia does, they'll either be a division winner or a wild card, depending on Zeke, or depending on what Philly does. Without Zeke, though, I don't even think we're a playoff team. So if for some reason Zeke doesn't play the entire year, no chance we're making the playoffs. He makes that offense, so I wouldn't expect much without Zeke. I don't think we'll do anything much more than a divisional round. I think there's a chance that Dallas could get to the Super Bowl, but everything's got to fall into place. I think there's some other teams in the NFC that are maybe not necessarily more talented, but have the experience and the coaching and the stuff like that to get there. So 10-6, divisional round exit for the Cowboys. Next up, we got the Washington Redskins. They announced it last week. Case Keenum's going to be the guy week 1. Case Keenum's kind of been thrown out everywhere he's went. He had a big year in Minnesota where they won they don't win the NFC Championship, but they got to the NFC Championship. That was when they had the Minneapolis Miracle. He goes to, where was he at last year? Denver. Yeah, Denver last year. Kind of had an average year. And then this year he's in Washington. We'll see what he does. I really like my boy Dwayne Haskins from Ohio State. I hope he blows up. I want to see him play. I'd have no issue if they set him this year and developed him. That would be fine with me too. But I think Haskins in the long term is a better quarterback. Darius Geis will be back this year. He's been injured. He was injured last year. I really like him. He's one of my favorite up and coming running backs in the league out of LSU. I really liked him at LSU. After Leonard Fournette left. They still have Adrian Peterson. They still have Chris Thompson. So they have a really solid running back core to where they can possibly do some damage with those running backs. That's man, Adrian Peterson, Darius Geis, and Chris Thompson. That's ridiculous. Pretty trash offensive line, so that doesn't help the run game at all. They do have a young wide receiver core. I don't expect too much out of them this year. They did add Terry McLaurin from Ohio State, and obviously he played with Dwayne Haskins, so there's some chemistry there from those guys. On the defensive side of the ball, they did add Landon Collins from the Giants, which we know Landon Collins, he's a sick player. Will Josh Norman produce at corner? Kind of has been a letdown since he came to Washington. They paid him all that money. He really hasn't done much. And they're pretty average everywhere else on defense. Ryan Kerrigan's the star in the front seven. So it'll be interesting for the Redskins this year. I think it's definitely a rebuilding year. So my prediction for the Redskins is 6-10. They have playing a tough division with the Eagles and Dallas, and you got to play the Giants. Those are always toss-up games. They have a tough NFC schedule, and they got to play New England as well. So I think the future for the Redskins, this is not a win now year. I think they got to build around Dwayne Haskins and Darius Geis and that young receiving core and young offense. They need to work on that offensive line next year in the draft. They need to keep improving on defense, whether it's veterans or rookies or young guys or whatever. And I think, if the Redskins do what they need to do, Haskins can be their franchise guy, but we'll see what they do. We know how the Redskins have been for the last, 15 years, so we'll see what happens. Last but not least, and no, just because I'm a Dallas fan, I'm not a Philly hater. Clearly, you'll see by my predictions that I'm not biased with Philadelphia. Carson Wentz is back, obviously, but his health is always a concern, and what worries me this year with Philly is if Wentz goes down, Nick Foles is not there to pick up the pieces. It's Josh McCown, and Josh McCown, obviously one of the the veteran quarterbacks in the league. All the teams, everybody here they're talking about Josh McCown. They talk about how much of a great presence he is in the quarterback room and how much of a leader he is and stuff like that. But on the field, I don't know if he's going to come in and pick up the pieces and like Foles did and go, to a Super Bowl, win a Super Bowl for that matter. Deshaun Jackson is back in Philly. Super excited to see that. I know he's obviously past his prime, but man, the Deshaun Jackson Philly days back when like Chip Kelly was there, really some unbelievable football to watch from Deshaun Jackson. Like there's so many memories of him and his crazy plays in Philadelphia that he made, and it's good to see him come back where he belongs. Yeah, so they got one of the best receiving cores in the league. They got Alshon Jeffrey, Deshaun Jackson coming back, like I just mentioned, Nelson Aguilar, who's really gotten better every year. He's turned into a really good receiver. They also picked up J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, who I really like out of Stanford, one of my favorite wide receiver prospects coming out of Stanford last year. He's a guy, you just throw it up there to him, and he goes up and gets it. So I'm really interested to see what he does in Philly. He might not get as many touches just because they're already so strong at receiver. They have a top-of-the-line offensive line. They get Jordan Howard from Chicago. They also drafted Miles Sanders out of Penn State. So, I mean, if you're really looking at it, Philly's got one of the top offenses in the league, and you could put them up there with, like, the Chiefs. And they obviously have Zach Ertz. I didn't even mention Zach Ertz. They have Zach Ertz as well, who's probably the best tight end in the league next to Travis Kelce. I mean, that's like 1 and 1A ranking those guys. So, yeah, as long as Wentz stays healthy, this offense should crush it and be one of the top offenses in the league. But if he doesn't, we'll see how McCown does. Hopefully we don't see McCown play this year. No offense, McCown. But hopefully we don't see you play this year. They should have a solid defense again. They got Fletcher Cox. They added Zach Brown for linebacker depth. They got Malcolm Jenkins back there in the secondary. Pretty solid all the way around. Not a whole lot of huge kill-you names, but they'll be a solid group all around. My prediction for the Eagles this year is 12-4. I think they can make a Super Bowl run as long as Wentz stays healthy. I think they'll win the division, win the NFC easily. The only other teams I think that can compete is maybe the Saints in the NFC, and I just see Philly or maybe Chicago, depending on how Trubisky does. But yeah, I think for the Eagles, as long as they can keep Carson Wentz healthy, they can make a playoff run and get to the Super Bowl and possibly win a Super Bowl. If Wentz isn't healthy, then I don't think they make the playoffs. And the only way they don't win the division is if Dallas somehow goes 13-3 and just blows everybody out of the water. I don't think that's going to happen. So, yeah, that's my predictions for the NFC East. This is my division that my team's in, so I'm excited about it. Next, I'll have the other 3 NFC divisions out by the end of the week. I'm excited about those. So just as always, guys, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Let me know what your thoughts are on the Eagles, Cowboys, the Redskins, the Giants, Saquon Barkley, Dak Prescott, Dwayne Haskins, Carson Wentz, all these guys. Let me know what you guys think, man. And I appreciate you for watching the video. Be good.